Just wanted to thank you for joining me today, and
You're very welcome.
thought we would start off by introducing yourself, and then tell us where you're
My
from.
name is Jim Baker. I'm from Spearman, Texas.
Okay. So how did you get started in the custom harvesting business?
My father-in-law, I started with my father-in-law in 1969.
Okay.
He had started harvesting in 1941.
Okay.
And then 2 years later, or 3 years later, I bought the rest of his combines out and ended with 3 combines. I just started with one though.
Okay.
One 510 Massey.
Okay.
Brand new one.
Uh-huh.
Cost $10,300 with a 20-foot header on it.
Oh, a 20-foot. Okay.
Yeah, big combine.
Yeah. That is pretty big. So, and then, so you've been in ever since 1969. It's kind of, you have just been consecutive. That's kind of when you'd say you
Yes,
started. Okay.
we started in 1969, and then when I bought my father-in-law out, then we were getting more work, and I got one more combine, started running 4.
Okay.
And then after, really you can go back to when in 1972, everything really changed in the wheat industry of the United States.
Really?
Richard Nixon, Secretary of Agriculture, was Earl Butz. Earl Butz and Richard Nixon sold all the surplus wheat to Russia that year. That was 1972.
Okay.
And Earl Butz said to all the farmers in the United States, they wanted to get rid of the government programs, paying. So they said, well, you grow it, we'll sell it. Plow everything. If you're not going to get big, get out. So what they did, we had 45 million acres of wheat at that time in the United States. And between 1972 and 1982, we had 88 million acres of wheat. We almost doubled the wheat acres because we were selling it overseas. But in that meantime, and this goes for why we started the harvest organization too. But in the meantime, what president was it? Hang on, I can't think of it. He embargoed the wheat.
Okay.
He embargoed the wheat. He embargoed the wheat, sale to Russia, and so we were still having 88 million bushels of wheat, but we wasn't selling it. We wasn't selling it. We still got all the acres. All the acres are still in production, and we got a big surplus by that time. By 1982, we had billions of bushels of surplus.
Wow.
So I think the Secretary of Agriculture at that time was John Block. And they come out with a program they called the PIC program. Now they would pay you, at that time they had what they call a deficiency payment in the program. So they would pay you 92% of your deficiency payment, which was around $4.50 a bushel for wheat at that time, which was a lot of money. You could either lay out half your land or lay it all out and draw 92% of your check. 92% of the deficiency check. And so by that time, by 1983, I was running 7 combines.
Wow.
New case combines. They cost like, at that time, in '83, they cost about $140,000, somewhere in there. And I cut wheat in Arizona, Texas, Colorado, South Dakota, Montana, and then back to Dalhart to shell corn.
Okay.
And we were shelling, when we started this organization, we was probably harvesting, with my 7 combines, I was harvesting 120 to 150,000 acres of wheat a year. Because there was no deal where you had to go look for a job.
Really?
You could we had jobs, we had some big jobs, but you could just drag up the road and somebody would stop you. If you stopped and got diesel fuel, there'd be somebody there because we had 88 million acres of wheat.
Okay.
So whenever they took this PIC program, they put this PIC program in the fall of '82. They signed the bill, I think in January of 1983. Well, I could see that my acres went in less than half. My corn, I was cutting for Hitch Industries then, and we were shelling corn in Kansas, and half of the corn went away. Same way, they went 50-92. So we was going to lose half of our wheat harvest and half of our corn harvest in 1 year.
Wow.
And I wrote a letter to the High Plains Journal complaining about this, to the editor. And Pettit and Richard Weiss seen my letter in there. Pettit called me, I knew Pettit. And he started talking about starting an organization. And about the only thing I did was I wrote the letter and we was at Canyon, Texas. I was at Canyon, Texas that night. And they say there was 150, but I don't believe that, okay? I don't believe there was 150. There might have been 150 people there, but I think it was wives and sons and something. I would doubt if there was 60 combiners there. And Phyllis Weiss done most of the talking. And I haven't seen her in years, but she's just like Tracy Zorian, okay?
Okay.
She's a little energy bunny. And she done most of the talking that night because she could speak better than JL and Richard. He wouldn't say nothing. And she took the ball, she took it, and she went to Austin, she went to DC, and she got that through her efforts and the help of JL, but she did most of the talking, and she put the stuff together. Through that deal, there was 700 combiners, Canadians coming the year before. She got it cut down to 350 the first year.
Wow.
But it actually wasn't that we was trying to keep the Canadians out. That, a lot of people say we started this to keep Canadians out. We didn't do that. We was trying to save our livelihood after that PIC program, where they just took half of our wheat crop away in 1 year, and everybody's geared up to do a lot of stuff, and there was nothing to do.
Wow, I did not realize that.
Yeah.
Huh, that's very
But Phyllis Weiss needs a lot of credit.
Yeah.
And she worked at it for 2 years. She would take up the country, she would take and she would go to a town where there's combiners, where the harvesters were, and have meetings and sign them up. And she did that for 2 summers. And she signed up a lot of people.
Wow.
And at one time we had a lot of members at one time. But there was a lot of harvesters at one time.
Right.
But then whenever they got after that PIC program come over, the PIC program was over, well then they give that wheat, but see, they paid them farmers with wheat. So you just got a grain certificate and you just went and got the wheat. You didn't cut the wheat, but that's what they paid you with, so they was getting rid of their surplus. But then they come in they could see this was only going to be a 1 or 2 year deal. They run out of surplus wheat by paying these people, by paying the farmers. And they said, well, we're just going to be just 1 or 2 years on this. So then what they did, they come with the CRP program. And they signed up 45 million acres in grass. Well, that took 45 million acres out of production, which even today there's still 23 million in there. But at that point in time, I mean, it killed a lot of harvesters went broke. I mean, they just give up. I mean, there was nothing to cut anymore. And then when they changed after that, they had this all in the CRP and with the genetics of the crops and the soybeans and the corn. I mean, pretty quick, a farmer that was like take for instance, Colorado, you could just go up there and it's just 50% wheat. 50% wheat, 50% summer fall. Well, now there's just a little bit of wheat. There's sunflowers, there's corn, there's soybeans. And the same farmers, the farmer's got one combine, he cuts it all. Used to be that was all custom cut there. All custom cut wheat. It was all cut in 10 days, that whole country was cut. But no more, because there's nothing there no more. At Cheyenne Wells or in places like that, they're just not there. And farmer-owned combines, and there's a lot of government programs probably hurt more combiners, more harvesters than any one thing you could ever say. Government programs.
Yeah, makes it tough.
Yeah.
So kind of along with the machinery, what kind of differences have you seen in the machinery since when you first started to now?
Oh, they do a lot better job. They're more dependable. They need to be because they cost a lot of money.
Yeah.
You know, more horsepower. They just do it. They're way more dependable than they used to be.
Really?
I mean, you get a brand new Massey combine, you'd be working on it the second day you owned it. If you put a bearing in it or something, you don't do that no more. They run pretty good.
But in the beginning, that's kind of how it was. You just thought, well.
Oh yeah, it was a different time though.
Yeah.
It was a different time. You know, when I first started, if we had a 500-acre job with 3 combines or 600, that was a big job.
Yeah.
It took quite a while to do that.
Yeah.
You just went slow. And there was a lot of crews. There was a lot of crews.
How many crews do you think kind of went out from the area you're from when you first started?
Right where I'm from?
Uh-huh.
There was 12 crews running out of Spearman, Texas. There isn't any no more.
Really?
None.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's a big change.
Yeah. No, it's mostly government programs though have caused the majority of our problems.
Changing it.
Yeah.
How has the price of work changed over the years? Like price that.
Oh, the price of work. I think when I first cut, we got $2.50 and a nickel to bushel to haul it. And now last year we got 3/24.
Okay.
But the one that was getting the 250, I mean, that combine might only cut 40 acres a day. In a good day. The ones now do 200.
Yeah.
You know, so, I mean, you can get it done if you had the acres to do it.
Yeah.
But the farmer-owned combines and stuff like that, it's killed the harvest industry, I think.
Kind of made it tough.
Yeah.
Do you hire employees, or did you hire employees?
Oh, I did before. I don't hire very many no more. I hire just a few guys around home to help with wheat and corn anymore. I don't go on the road no more.
Where did you get, when you first started out, or kind of through your career, where did you kind of draw your employment from? Is it U.S. or did you?
U.S. I've used Australians, South Africans. I've used H-2A workers.
Okay.
And I used a lot of Australians and New Zealand guys, and South Africa and Denmark. I had quite a few guys come over on what they call a MASS program. It's some college deal. I've had quite a few guys come over like that.
Okay.
And it was a deal where there was no set pay for them. I paid them like everybody else, okay?
Yeah.
But you didn't have to pay them anything.
Really?
No. It was an educational deal.
What do you think?
It's through a college
Okay.
in Minnesota. They call it MASS. I've had several guys come over like that. I just paid them like everybody else. They was all happy when they left.
I bet.
Yeah.
What kind of drew, what do you think drew maybe those guys over, or just in general?
I think just the experience of doing it.
Uh-huh.
I had one family from Australia, the Dowling family. There are 6 boys in that family, and 4 of them come, when I was running 7, 8 combines, 4 of them came.
Wow.
And run with me.
Yeah.
One of them come back twice.
Couldn't help it. Liked it
just,
so much.
He loved it. Just the experience of being over here. And he was young, you know, just seeing the country.
It's a good way to see the country.
Yeah.
Have you noticed a change in the type, or like the type of workers that you have now, or the change in employment since when you've started?
Oh, I've had 2 guys call me today for a job from the United States, but they probably wouldn't show up, you know.
Yeah.
You know.
Not like before, maybe, or different, or do you
No,
kind of have
different.
a?
Different guys.
Yeah.
No, the young people anymore, there's not many young people that want to go do this in the United States anymore. I mean, I suppose it's about impossible unless it's just some kid that's raised on a farm that wants to go make a run. Because the city boys, they're probably not going.
Yeah. Yeah, not as appealing.
No, it's too much work. And man, they need to be a little bit experienced to go.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And they need to know how to drive trucks.
Yeah, there's a lot more qualification. I mean.
Now there is, yes, there's a lot more. You have to do a lot more stuff. When I used to run, at one time we hired 18 to 20 guys.
Wow.
And it would, we didn't need no drug tests or nothing.
Yeah.
I mean, we'd get South Africans or whatever, we didn't do drug tests. If they had a driver's license, we went and got them a driver's license, we took off. Nobody went and checked us. And now there's a lot of rules that makes it a lot harder on the harvesters to do all this stuff.
Yeah. Have you noticed, like, change in how you move your equipment down the road, like from stop to stop?
Well, the DOT's a lot harder now. They're a lot harder.
Yeah. What about
but we've got a lot of rules changed too. The organization got a lot of rules changed. You know, Rick Ferris worked on the original driver's license law. The restricted CDL. He worked on that restricted CDL. And he had that in there, so you actually could, a person with a tandem truck, because that's all we had then.
Right.
When the CDL rule come into effect, the 383, he worked on it. We only had tandem trucks, and we could get a restricted driver's license at that time, and you still can today. If you have a boy or a girl that's 16 years old or 17 years old that's had a driver's license for 1 year, you can go get them 180-day CDL, and they can haul 1,000-gallon diesel fuel.
Yeah. And
they can drive that tandem truck. And he had that passed. And Rick Ferris was one of the people that got that done.
So, is there? Do you still run tandem trucks, or is that kind of changed?
No, we run semis.
You run semis now.
Yeah.
It's more to haul and. Have your living arrangements on the road changed at all? Do you guys live in house trailers, or do you
just
find
trailer houses?
Trailer houses.
Yeah.
Has that kind of changed over the years, or?
Oh yeah, we used to not have to have real good ones. You got to have good ones now, but we have pretty good ones then too.
Okay.
Good for the times, yeah.
Yeah. Did your family travel with you at all, or did you have any family?
Everybody's family went. Yeah, my wife used to go. We usually wouldn't eat breakfast at the trailer house unless we was off in the country somewhere. We usually went to cafe for breakfast.
Okay.
And then we'd come back and they'd have the lunches made, and they'd bring supper up.
Okay.
But we let her off for breakfast time. We just tell them to go to cafe. Just set a time, be at the cafe this time.
Okay.
And, it was
That's
a lot easier.
Then she would bring out a hot supper. Is
Yes,
that
yes.
the thing to look forward
Yeah.
to every day?
Yeah. Yeah.
Best part of the day?
She was an excellent cook too.
Have there been changes like in the weather that have affected your harvest path, like making it to different stops?
Yeah, every year.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't
Predict
get
it.
out. You can't predict that. I mean, you might run. I think the most we ever run, we started in Arizona once, and we run 76 days, either cutting or moving.
Wow.
And we was ready for it to rain.
Yeah, at that
Okay.
point.
We wanted it to rain. But you can't ever tell.
No.
I mean, you can go a place and you're just going to cut a little bit of wheat there. And you might never get it cut.
So it just comes in and rains.
Yeah, because of rain. I mean, some places 4 days might take you 3 weeks. And what's really bad about it, if you've been cutting for that guy for a long time, you can't just say, well, I'm going to go up the road.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You gotta, yeah.
You cannot predict that, I don't think.
That's a tough thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it controls a lot of what you
Controls
do.
our life.
What would you say is maybe the biggest pressure that you might have faced during a harvest season or kind of throughout your harvest career?
Yeah. I don't know. I suppose the thing that bothered me the most?
Like a pressure, I mean, was it weather related or employment or?
When I was running a lot of combines, nothing, my ego was so bad that I didn't have any pressure. Everything was going to be okay, all right?
Kind of had to have that attitude maybe to make it.
Oh, you got to have the attitude everything's going to be okay. Because there's so much stuff. I mean, you're one wreck from a $10 million lawsuit, 2 foot from it, you know. You're 2 foot footman going down the road 70 miles an hour. We never hit one. We never, in all the years we harvested and drug them up the road, we never killed nobody.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've had some wrecks, but never killed nobody.
Yeah. Was like when you first started out, was it what you expected it would be, or did you think about, oh, what will it be like 10 to 15 years down the road?
Well, when I first started out, we made hardly any money. And before I started, I was working construction and working on drone rigs. And from the winter of 69, 70, and 71, I worked on drill rigs to make enough money to live on. In them years. There wasn't much money there. I don't know. I just wanted something to do on my own. And I just kept after it. I kept hustling. And I built that thing from one combine. We finally ended up running 8 steady all the time.
Okay.
We run them until 2001.
Okay.
And then I quit going on the road. Well, the last time I was on the road was 2003.
Okay.
And I just quit going.
What
And
was
it was another program that caused me to do that. In 1996, they quarantined the state of Arizona for carnal bunt.
Okay.
They called me in February. I was cutting, 1/3 of my harvest run was in Arizona. I was cutting 25,000 acres out there, 100 bushel wheat. And they called me one in the end of February or the 1st of March of 1996 and asked me, somebody from the USDA called me and said, where did you go with your combines last year? I said, I went to Texas, Kansas, Oklahoma, South Dakota, Montana. I said, why? Well, he said, we found one bunted kernel of wheat in a seed sack, a Riva Durham in a seed sack. And from that one bunted kernel, which kernel bunt will not hurt you. You can eat a whole bowl full of it, it won't hurt you. It's just supposed to, the crop maybe it won't be as good as it was.
Yeah.
But from that deal, they quarantined the state of Arizona. So being that was 1/3 of my run, I took they said they was going to test every field in the state of Arizona. We tested 7,100 fields.
Wow.
There was 10 harvesters that did this. We took a contract to test the fields. So many dollars a field. We tested all the fields. But they changed, we were supposed to wash the combines down with bleach and water after each test. Well, they changed the bleach ratio. It was supposed to only be just a small amount of bleach, and we ended up 50-50.
Wow.
50% bleach, and then it was, we wash them down with that, let them sit 15 minutes, rinse them off, and then we could go to another field to test. Well, I had 8 combines in this, and it absolutely ruined the combines. Cosmetically. Cosmetically ruined them. So it took us, we sued them for going into it, they said, just get this done, and whatever it takes, we will take care of it. That's what the head chief of APHID told me, personally, to my face. He said, whatever, he was talking to me and John Walker, and he said, whatever you guys have to do, get this tested so we can get this sanitary certificate signed that we're free of carnal bond. Because there was 900 million bushel of wheat on boats at the time that couldn't be unloaded.
Wow.
And they was and after we got done testing all the fields, and they got it where they could write them certificates that we was carnal bond free, and they had the quarantine deal under control, we went back to them and said, we burn these combines. And they said, well, we had to sue them. We filed on them. We got paid for our cosmetic damages. We got paid for that. About half the value of the combine, what we got. And then in the settlement agreement, I told that attorney, I said, I want to preserve my loss of work revenue because I think it's going to be a lot more loss than this from this deal. Because carnal bond at that time, it wasn't like the one that was in 2000, where they'd already learned, you know, and the farmers learned that it wasn't nothing wrong with it. Allie McGraw was Secretary of Agriculture in Kansas, got up at a news conference and said, the government needs to buy, bury, and burn them combines that's been out there. We do not want them in our state. So all the wheat that I had to cut going up the country until I got to Montana, I lost all that work. They wouldn't hire me. It was like you had the AIDS of wheat on your combine, or the biggest, worst plague you could ever see, and they didn't want you there. And so that was about the beginning of my end of that, because of that. I had quite a little money at that time, and I used all my money trying to save everything. I couldn't even trade the combines off because no dealer would take them. So I finally, four of the combines I still got. I still got them today.
Yeah.
But it was a government program.
Right. Do you have any crazy harvest stories that you want to share? Anything wild that happened?
Oh, I don't know.
Most embarrassing?
Like running headers together or something?
Go for it.
No. I had 2 boys run headers together in Montana. What they were doing was cutting strips. And so that we was cutting strip, one come one way and one come the other way, so they just missed. They were just missing each other, you know, just leaving a little bit of wheat. And they hung headers.
Oh.
Tore both headers off, both feeder houses off. And I told them boys, I said, it's a good thing that it's a penalty for murder here, because you 2 would be buried.
What was the biggest change that you've seen in the harvesting industry?
I suppose regulations.
Okay.
I suppose regulations and things like that. and difference in farm programs, that's changed everything.
Yeah. What year did you join the U.S. Custom Harvester Organization?
I was there at the meeting
Yeah.
at Canyon. I joined it that night.
Okay. What have you gained by being a member?
Oh, I've gained a lot of friends. I've done a lot of lobbying. I've done a lot of lobbying in Washington, D.C. on several issues. The fuel tank issue, I started working on that 10 years before we ever got it, maybe 12 years. I've been to D.C., I was on a board of directors, but even before that, I was working on that. And that's the first time we ever worked on it.
Mm-hmm.
We started working on a fuel tank issue, and it took a long time, and when Tracy and Kent got it, Kent called me one day and said, "What do you think about hiring a lobbyist?" I said, "I've tried everything I could think of 10 years. I said, I met with everybody in Washington, D.C. about 5 times, and they're not budging." I said, "That's probably the only way." And I don't know what it costs the organization, if it costs them $100,000, $200,000, $300,000, whatever it cost. It had to be hire a lobbyist to get it into that transportation bill. We couldn't get it without them. And they got it done.
Yeah.
But I've done a lot of that for the organization. And I got a lot of friends from this organization.
Yeah, friends is a big one. Yeah. People who kind of know what you do and can relate.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I just wanted to thank you again for
no problem.
taking the time today. So.
All I got is time.
All right, thanks, Jim.
Yeah.